Hey everyone, my name is Corey Jewett, Director of Athletic Communications, and welcome to another edition of Gettysburg Great Games. This week we're taking a look at the Bullets football team, and joining me today is assistant football coach Nick Ulassin, who is class of 2015, and we will be talking about our matchup with Franklin Marshall in 2014. Nick was a senior on that team. He was an English major from Branchburg, New Jersey, too. Nick, I have vivid memories of this game and you competing out there. But first, let's just talk about where you've been since you left Gettysburg in 2015.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Corey. I didn't stray too far even after graduating football. From the field, I immediately went into coaching college football. The plan was when I was at Gettysburg to teach high school, coach high school, and realized I didn't want to do any of that. All I wanted to do was coach football. So ended up going up to Western New England. It's a D3 school up in Springfield, Massachusetts, as the receivers coach up there for a year, and then went down to Wingate University down in Charlotte, North Carolina, with the head coach there, Joe Wright, Gettysburg grad. Went down there with Coach Clark, who was at Gettysburg my freshman to junior year as our DB coach at Gettysburg. He got the DB job at Wingate, brought me down to be his assistant. So I was down there for 2 years as the defensive backs graduate assistant. And then when Coach Streeter retired and things shifted up here, got the chance to come back and be the DB coach here the last 2 years. And then when Coach Banks took over, I changed to linebackers and special teams coordinator as well. So been all over a little bit, coached a little bit of everything, and excited to be back here to start this off with Coach Banks.
Yeah, it's great having you back, Nick, of course. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the great work you put in for us in athletic communications, of course, serving as our very colorful commentator for a few sports, helping us out with swim championships and doing some PA there, and also doing commentary for basketball and the baseball championships too. So fond memories of that. And of course, you yelling into the microphone, hot coffee, every time exciting happened on the court or the baseball field too. So we are here to talk about that 2014 F&M game. There was a lot riding with this rivalry with F&M. Of course, it dates back to the earliest days of Bullets football. And this particular game was the 100th meeting between the Bullets and the Diplomats. Also, the series was incredibly tied after 99 games, 46 wins apiece with 7 ties. And this was the first year that we had an official trophy for the game too. Working with a local historian and woodworker, Bill Hewitt, we put together the Lincoln Football Trophy, which is in the shape of President Lincoln's stovepipe hat, and was also created out of witness trees in the battlefield. There's also a little mini bullet inside that thing too. So we'll talk a little bit about that trophy a little bit later. But for you guys, particularly as a senior class, what did this rivalry with F&M mean to you guys?
Yeah, no, this was huge, and especially when you combine it with the Dickinson game the week before, how our schedule used to be laid out with Dickinson followed up by F&M, rivalry month. And for us, a senior class, we were a pretty big senior class. I believe we had over 20 of us stick through it through all 4 years with, after playing, my entire life, and then coaching 5 years afterwards so far. You don't see senior classes of over 20 kids, usually, maybe 10 or 11 or so every year. So to have that big of a senior class, stick it out for as long as we did, we were a tight group and we wanted to go out on top, and up to that point of the year had just gone okay so far, not obviously not how we wanted to finish, but at the end of the day, you wipe all that clean, and then, November rolls around, you have Dickinson and F&M, our 2 biggest rivals, our 2 biggest trophy games. So for the week before, obviously, we go up to Dickinson, get momentum, beat them. That was awesome. I scored my last college touchdown there. Humble brag. Brought that back home. So riding that momentum going in the last game of the year. The F&M game is already huge, obviously, as anybody who goes to – you don't have to play football, just go to either school, know that it's a huge rivalry. So on top of that, with everything that was added to this year, with it being the 100th game, with it being tied, the trophy, being a part of this for the first time, that all just added to the intensity. Not to mention you're just being around Coach Streeter every day during F&M week. He's intense as it is on a Monday in April. So you get him F&M week with that, as big as that game is. He was through the roof all week. So put all that together, and it turns into a great week of practice, and obviously everybody getting ready for Saturday, and it was awesome, and we were ready to roll.
And of course, you talk about it was a great attitude of the team, the atmosphere. Of course, you talked about that, and Streeter that week, that F&M week. It's always interesting to see Coach Streeter and how he goes about his business. He's definitely ready for F&M every single year, and coaching 40 years, it's 40 years worth of F&M rivalries. That game, Coach Streeter should have been very happy with the play early on. We jump out to an early lead. You got Sam McDermott tossing that 15-yarder to Alec Pacelli. And then later on, after F&M jumps ahead 7-6, McDermott runs it in for another touchdown. And then later in the half, you always love it when the defense scores a touchdown. Chris Miller, the man of the interceptions that year, picks up his 4th interception of the season and takes it back 55 yards for a score, too. A defensive player's dream is getting that pick 6 and running it back. How comfortable did you guys feel with that lead at that point? It was 20-7 them. And then F&M kind of closed with a touchdown in the second quarter to 2014.
Yeah, definitely. I think, go back to Sam playing. Obviously, that was a big blow to us to start the game with, I think we told Sam an hour before kickoff that, he was the starting quarterback, which is crazy. Started his first game. Zach had started us for all year for us. One of my really good friends at Gettysburg. Someone I'm still close with, and he just couldn't go. I believe it was a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken, and he just couldn't throw the ball pregame. So I had to roll over to Sam, and I think initially, obviously everybody's nervous, and you got somebody starting their very first game, and he didn't even have a week to prepare to be the starter. So somebody started their first game off the bat in a situation like that. So I think it was huge for us, especially early on, for Sam, especially to have that success and throw that touchdown, have a couple big runs, get some confidence under his belt, where he knew, all right, I'm good, I can roll with this. And he's a confident kid. We obviously saw that the next year, and he believed in himself, and that wasn't an issue for him. But for the rest of the team, just to see that, all right, we're going to be all right today. Even though we're missing our starting quarterback, this kid's going to be all right, and he's going to win us this game. So that was great to see early on, just for our confidence. And then yeah, I mean, anytime you can steal a score with the defense, doing their thing. And that was huge because, that puts us up 2 scores. That puts all the pressure on F&M, takes some pressure off our offense. Our defense is already balling out, and they would continue for the rest of the day. But that's huge. Just anytime you can steal a score on defense or special teams, you got such a better chance of winning that game. And like I said, took a lot of pressure off the offense there, just helping us out.
Of course, too, we talked a little bit about this before. That was your first collegiate start, was senior day against F&M too, correct? How did you feel?
Yeah. So my career had some ups and downs. Obviously I came in, had a great, pretty good freshman year. I was the backup to Teddy, who was, I think, all conference. I mean, he was an animal there my freshman year. But I started as a kickoff returner. I played a lot as running back on all of our special teams. So I had a really good first year, and then tore my ACL first game, first carry sophomore year. Went 23 yards untouched, cut behind the safety, and blew my knee out up 49-0 at Messacordia. So kind of a waste. So that was unfortunate. Then the next year, come back between rehabbing my ACL, and then I had a hernia that I should have had surgery for, but I tried to play through just because I missed the year before, and I stunk. I'm okay saying that. I wasn't a good football player junior year. I couldn't run, and I was a running back, so it doesn't really work. So then coming into senior year, Wigley had done a great job the year before at running back, so he was a starter. I had a really good camp though senior year. I was finally feeling healthy. Worked my way into me and Wigley splitting the carries my senior year, but he was still the starter. And then he had I forget if it was in the game or practice, but got injured either at Dickinson or that week of Dickinson. And then so I finally 40th game of my career, last game of my career, got the chance to start. Which is awesome. After going through the injuries I went through those 2 years and being very frustrated through all that. After my first 9 or 10 years playing football, never missing a game, never getting hurt. So to battle through all that and get playing time senior year and then get that last start was awesome. Felt great.
Of course, we'll talk a little bit more about your performance in the game too here in a minute. First, we want to talk about the defense. You alluded to it earlier in the second half. So it's 20-14. In the second half, the defense was amazing. they shut down F&M left and right. So we're talking about 2 interceptions by Vegso in the third quarter, Joe Vegso, and then by Kamau Bridges in the fourth quarter. You've got 2 big goal line stops. I know you've got a funny story about one of those goal line stops that you can definitely tell. One at the end of a 17-play drive by F&M in the third quarter, and the other on F&M's final possession in the fourth quarter. I mean, the D-line was awesome. You got A.J. Hill up there, Drew Winters, Joe Scaglione was up there. The secondary was awesome. Gordon Prince was breaking up passes left and right. Talk about what you remember the defensive effort in that second half alone.
Yeah, no, I mean, the defense won us that game that day. There's no question about it. Especially, as great as Sam was that day, anytime that you have your backup quarterback in, if you can throw out a great defensive performance, man, it's gonna go a long way. So, we did what we had to do on offense to put up a few points, but them, especially what they did in that second half, they won us that football game, no doubt about it. The picks were huge, but at the end of the day, those 2, turnovers happened, but from an offensive standpoint, a goal line stop is just demoralizing. So you go on a 17-play drive, and then, we stuff them there one time. But then that second one, the second one was, towards the end of the game, and that was pretty much for the game. At that point, they didn't get that thing. I believe at that point we were up 2 scores. It was getting late in the game, so they had to chuck that one in. And we had about 6 guys in on that last tackle, stuffing their quarterback on that run. At that point, pretty much, put the nail in the coffin, got the W. That was awesome. And, I have vivid memories of them stopping them all just sprinting towards the sideline. Maybe I came out too far, but me and I ran out, and me and Gordon just jumped in the air and embraced, and we ended up getting a 15-yard penalty. I guess it's kind of my fault because I came on the field, but I'm okay with that. I was a senior, so what are they going to do? So we got a 15-yard penalty for whatever it is, unsportsmanlike conduct, something like that. But at that point, that was okay. It was time to celebrate. We pretty much knew we were getting the W there. But the defense, the whole game, but especially that second half, they won us that football game. They balled out, and it was electric to see.
And of course, after that 15-yard penalty, we're sitting on basically just outside of our own end zone there, and facing third down. McDermott shows that poise in the pocket, finds Pozzello, who is like a third down monster throughout his whole career, for a 30-yard, gets us that first down. And then, later on that possession, which was our final possession, apparently Coach Streeter wasn't that mad at you because you're in the game. You come up with a huge rush, maybe one of your longest of the season, 38 yards, and then 2 more carries after that. So how did it feel for you to pull off that rush, number one, and then also end your senior season with the ball in your hands?
Yeah, no, it was, like I said, it was kind of, for me, a culmination of just, come back from those injuries and the hard work I put in to come back. So it was awesome to get to go out there and be on the field to finish it, just be on the field, let alone get the ball. The hole I hit when I hit that thing was huge. I can remember it, put my foot in the ground. Now we had offensive line that year, 4 out of 5 seniors. Can't give enough credit to them. Everything I did, was all behind those boys, Reale and those guys. But yeah, no, that was awesome. Watching the highlight still kills me. I didn't take that thing all the way to the end zone. I'll blame that on a couple surgeries in a couple years. I lost a step or 2. But no, that was awesome to break that huge run. I mean, when Sam to Fred really, it iced it. But that really, at that point, there wasn't any chance they could get the ball back. And that was it. That, the game was over. And then, like I said, we got another carry or 2 after that. But I do remember my last carry. It was to the left, I think 5 or 6 yards. Got up to go back to the line. That's when it was, we realized it was over. Fred Caruso was right next to me, and he was just like, "It's over, buddy." So vividly remember that moment as well, realizing that we were done. Our careers were over. But it was just an awesome way to go out. For me, getting to have those last couple carries, had the ball in my hands to end it all, breaking out that big run. It's an awesome last memory for me personally, in my playing career.
Of course, not the final memory of that game, and we have photo evidence of this. We've got Coach Streeter coming onto the field with the Lincoln Trophy, which was actually a pretty big trophy, too.
Yeah,
it weighs quite a bit.
You go from the bucket, which is nothing. It's a little old falling apart bucket, to that trophy. That's big.
Yeah, it's oak. Like, it's solid oak for sure. So Streeter's coming onto the field with this. you guys are starting to gather around and get a sense for what's going on. Janet Riggs is out there, our former president. Talk about the moment when she hands over that trophy to Coach, to the seniors, and you guys all kind of like gather around everybody and just enjoy that moment, hoisting the Lincoln football trophy.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta look at that picture in our hallway right now. I think that says it all. How excited we were. At that moment, you're not really thinking that your career is over. You know it is, but it hasn't sunk in yet. You're on that high from winning that game. That had just been hyped up so much because of the rivalry. On top of, like you said, the 100th game tied, the first year having the trophy, and the game can be played 100 more times. Only one team's gonna win that trophy the first time. So to get to be the class that won that trophy the first time it was up for grabs, that's something that nobody will ever be able to take away from us. So that was awesome. Just pure joy, winning that trophy and getting to go out our senior year with that.
Yeah, every day. You mentioned the picture down there. One of my favorite pictures in my 13 years at Gettysburg. You walk in right by the equipment room, right beside Brame Gym. Big old picture of the Lincoln football trophy, your 2014 team. And there's Nick Ulassin in all your bearded glory. Nick had a nice Grizzly Adams-shaped beard back then, standing beside Coach Streeter and President Riggs, too. So one of my favorite pictures of all time, for sure.
Yeah, I managed to weasel my way between Coach Streeter and the president. So front and center there for that picture.
So, Nick, that was one of, the many great memories we've had at Gettysburg. And, of course, the team, you mentioned Sam and the year he had is his senior year. That 2015 team went up to F&M, reclaimed the trophy, brought that back to Gettysburg again as well. Team had a great year, too. I feel like that game really set the standard for the team the following year to accomplish even a little bit more, going 7-3 overall and starting out really well too. And of course, bringing home the bucket and the trophy again as well. And of course, at this moment right now, we don't know what the status of the spring is. We're trying to figure out how we can have as many sports going on as possible and give Bullets football another opportunity to be out there on the field. We've got freshmen on campus, some upperclassmen. I know Justin Lessel's on campus, for example.
Yeah, we've had 7 or 8 upperclassmen with us right now.
With about 40 freshmen, give or take a few.
Yep.
Still keeping connected to the upperclassmen at home. I know I've seen the Team Builder app and everything that's being done workout-wise, so I know those guys are definitely hitting the weights pretty hard and improving their cardio.
They're all on our app, on their strength program. We're still having team meetings a few times a week with everybody, just trying to keep them engaged as best as we can. Just trying to do as much as we can with them in the situation we're in, making sure that they're doing what we're doing to the best of their abilities, being virtual and everything. So just keeping them engaged and hoping that we're going to see them in January on campus.
Yep, we're all hoping for the best and thinking positive thoughts. I know I'm excited to see Bullets football out there on the turf again. You can see the turf right behind me. There's Shirk Field over my shoulder.
That's the old turf.
So, Nick, I want to thank you for taking the time. I love chatting about the old games. I love connecting about some of the great moments we've had on the field. It's great having you back on the staff, too, of course, and around campus. So that does it for our edition of Gettysburg Great Games. My name is Corey Jewett for Nick Ulassin, signing off until next time.
Awesome.